Joining us now is Tom Fitton of Judicial Watch. He is the president of Judicial Watch. Welcome back to the program, sir. How are you?
I'm doing well, Sean. How are you today?
I'm good. So now we know in the latest struck page messages back and forth that there was coordination, the coordination between the DOJ and the FBI to actually have a media leak strategy with an ongoing investigation with evidence that was never proven, on top of course, using the phony Steele dossier to get the FISA warrants and everything in between. This is about as corrupt as anything I've ever seen and the biggest abuse of power in our history. And the question is, where do we go from here?
In a just world, the Mueller investigation would end or at least pause. I mean, just think, if this was a regular criminal investigation at the state level and you had the cops, Strzok and company, engaged in such outrageous misconduct, abusing their authority, going after someone because of political bias, the prosecution would stop. The courts would step in and stop it. And I think, frankly, our friends in Congress, Sean, need to spend less time talking about Strzok, Page, Comey, and the rest, and more time talking about what Mr. Mueller is doing based on all of the crooked activities by that gang.
Well, we now know, but wait a minute, but it's all tied together.
But for their corruption.
Listen, it's all true, but we've got to build out the story, and each piece puts the puzzle together. We have now framed in that puzzle, and now we're just filling in the final pieces of the puzzle. But what we know is breathtaking, and that is you had a group of people, and we have an insurance policy group. You had Strzok, you had Page, you had Comey, you had McCabe, and other people, then Bruce Orr and Sally Yates and Christopher Steele. But two of the people were involved in exonerating Hillary when we know she committed felonies to keep their favorite candidate in the race. Hillary Clinton funnels money, which I would argue is a campaign finance violation, through a law firm to Fusion GPS Glenn Simpson. And then he hires Christopher Steele. What is the one thing all of these people have in common? Strzok and Page and Orr. Nellie Orr works for Fusion GPS, Glenn Simpson, Christopher Steele. They all hate Donald Trump. They never wanted him to be president. Now, then you get this dossier that's put together, which eventually we discover that Christopher Steele doesn't even believe himself. That becomes the basis for a FISA warrant to spy on a Trump campaign associate. And then, of course, they never verified, they never corroborate. All of these things happen, and they're telling us it's true. Now, we might get that information sooner rather than later, and I hope we do. And then we find out that Orr stays in touch with Christopher Steele, who's fired for lying and leaking, and that they're talking about firewalls so they don't get caught. They're afraid they're going to get exposed. And I think the single most dangerous piece of information we now have is that Steele was funneling his lies through the FBI into the hands of Mueller's team vis-a-vis Andrew Weissman. And he's asking Orr about, did you get my information to the SC, the Special Counsel?
Well, you may not have noticed, but last week Judicial Watch obtained new documents from the FBI. They were trying, it looks like, to rehabilitate Steele, but they found that they couldn't really believe in the dossier. And this is this is subsequent to other documents we found. And this is a quote from the documents. The FBI said Steele was deemed not suitable as a confidential human source, and he was not to collect intelligence on behalf or for the FBI. So this is the FBI's own documents showing that Steele was to be kept away from, and they, as you point out, corruptly continued to use him anyway. One intermediate step that can be done is the Office of Special Counsel, which is charged with making sure that federal officials don't abuse their offices to advance a political agenda, like under the Hatch Act, for instance, which prohibits political activities by federal employees in most circumstances, can conduct a criminal or serious investigation into what Strzok was up to. He clearly had anti-Trump bias. He clearly was using FBI resources to advance that bias, to stop Trump, as he says, and have an insurance policy. The Office of Special Counsel, which is not in the Justice Department, can conduct an independent criminal investigation. So I think that's one area that we can draw attention to as an opportunity for more accountability for Strzok, because he has zero credibility. His lawyers are telling us, don't believe what you read in his emails and text messages, and obviously that's not persuasive. Even the FBI had to let him go because it didn't become credible anymore. So we've just got to keep the pressure on, Sean, here. And if I were, and if they don't want to focus on Mueller, bring him in and ask him some questions. Why did you keep Strzok on? Why did you fire him?
Why is he keeping Andrew Weissman on?
Weissman, who's caught up in this in terms of potentially leaking information in the middle of the campaign to friendly media.
Well, I think that's the worst part. Let me go through, because you put out a release yesterday on the letter that we know was sent to Rod Rosenstein by Congressman Mark Meadows. I mean, I think this is very revealing that the FBI agent Peter Strzok is contacting Lisa Page's girlfriend. They're discussing their words, a media leak strategy. The text says specifically, I had literally just gone to find this phone to tell you that I want to talk about the media leak strategy with the DOJ before you go. The next day, the leak comes out in the Washington Post. Then the day after that, Strzok congratulates Page on a good job while referencing and referring to the two derogatory articles about Carter Page. In the text, Strzok is warning Page that two articles are coming out. One is worse than the other about Lisa's namesake, and added, well done, Page. So you have people in the FBI coordinating with the DOJ, and now we know that Christopher Steele and the Department of Justice are coordinating with the Special Counsel. How can they investigate? How do you have Rod Rosenstein in there when Rod signed the fourth FISA warrant and appointed Mueller and is a witness as relates to the firing of Comey?
Right. And Strzok he's not just your regular FBI agent. He was running the Russia investigation at an operational level for the FBI. He was traveling overseas. He was running the Clinton investigation concurrently. We just had documents come out showing that Strzok drafted the initial letter that Comey sent to Congress reopening the Clinton email issue with the Wiener laptop fight. And now we just sued for all the Wiener stuff because it looks like Strzok didn't want to look at all of that. According to the IG, that investigation against Clinton was curtailed perhaps because the IG admits, I think it's more direct, of the bias that Strzok had against President Trump. He didn't want the Wiener laptop find, that all the Clinton emails were on Wiener's laptop, which is outrageous now that we know that 18 classified emails were on that system, getting away with this Get Trump Russia operation.
Let me bring Sarah Carter in.
Sarah pointed that out, not us. The IG did.
Sarah Carter, and I'm told that I just read the two text messages that you broke yesterday, but now we've got more text messages that you have that are going to be coming out tonight, and these two go even deeper. Can you give us a preview of what you're going to tell us?
Well, I can give you a few hints. I mean, it does go deeper. I think we're going to see a lot more with regard to higher-level officials, Sean, at the FBI. Involved with Peter Strzok and Lisa Page and coordinating with the DOJ. I think this is very significant because once again, everything that they have been attempting to say to Congress or keeping from Congress, now they're getting caught. So they're basically getting caught with their foot in their own mouth. This is something that Peter Strzok's attorney tried to mitigate. This was about how to prevent leaks, not about leaks, but there's just too much information here. There's not even circumstantial evidence. It's very solid evidence.
Well, not only that, in the text messages that I understand are coming out today, they actually talk about the name of the reporters involved in this.
Absolutely.
And Strzok's boss is mentioned in all of this, and meaning that he knew about it.
Absolutely. And, so we know now that McCabe was well aware of what was going on. We understand now that Lisa Page and Peter Strzok were actively speaking with Bruce Orr, who was a back channel for Christopher Steele. And Tom Fitton put it so perfectly when he was saying that, look, we have documents that show, documents from the FBI themselves. This is not conspiracy theory. This is the truth. Documents that say Christopher Steele should no longer be used as a source. He's not trustworthy. I can tell you this. Months ago, I spoke to intelligence officials who worked with Christopher Steele directly while he was still a part of MI6. And they didn't have great things to say about Christopher Steele. They didn't use the spin. They thought he was a blowhard. They didn't believe half of what he was saying half the time. And let me tell you this, Christopher Steele got most of his information from Russians. So this is what I'm having a really difficult time understanding. We have the left and a lot of people that are anti-Trumpers or never-Trumpers saying, oh, we shouldn't believe this. They colluded with the Russians. And even though there's no evidence there whatsoever that they colluded with Russians, but they're willing to believe Russian lies. Basically, Russian lies delivered by a foreign intelligence. And now we have people within the FBI at the senior level and the DOJ in text messages. This isn't stuff that we're making up. This isn't a dossier that was put together by some right-wing Trump supporter. This is their own words, actually exposing these people for who they are and for what they were doing and how they were subverting the United States Constitution, the laws that garner this land. They were actually subverting it. Malfeasance within these departments that we trust, that we give all our trust to. I mean, this is September 11th.
This is
the day that we remember all those people. And here we have people at the highest levels in these agencies that are playing these games. Not the foot soldiers, not the people that are down on the ground fighting, but the people at the top.
All right, as we take a break here, we'll come back with Sarah Carter and with Tom Fitton. All right, as we continue, Tom Fitton, Sarah Carter, remain 800-941-SEAN. Your calls at the bottom of this half hour. Let me go to your discovery, Freedom of Information Act and Judicial Watch. If Anthony Weiner's laptop contained hundreds of thousands of emails, do we know if any of them had any Hillary emails in there, Uma Abedin emails in there? And when do we get a hold of those emails?
Well, they've given us all the State Department received from the FBI the emails that were State Department documents, supposedly, potentially responsive, and they gave us many hundreds of records, including at least 18 classified documents that were from the Clinton email server present on Anthony Weiner's laptop. The classified material included the identity of a CIA operative, so pretty sensitive classified material. And frankly, if anyone else had classified material or set up a system that allowed classified material not only to be accessible to the public essentially on your own server because it was so insecure, but then was placed on other systems like Anthony Weiner's laptop, you would have been arrested. Hillary Clinton would have been arrested. Uma Abedin would have been arrested if the rule of law was being fairly applied.
Did we ever find the 33,000 emails that she deleted and acid washed off with bleach bit and had busted up in, on devices? Did we ever get all of those? What percentage, if any, did we get?
Well, we're still unclear as to what percentage is there, but we've been getting them in dribs and drabs from the government. We should be getting the last batch soon, and these are the emails that were either deleted or Mrs. Clinton did not want to turn over.
Do they have all 33,000 emails that were deleted?
We don't know, but we do know there was classified information on the emails that she deleted or hid from the American
people.
Even
James Comey admitted that on July 5th. Stuff. So I guess
where's this Justice Department, Sean?
I don't know.
Comey and Lynch.
I don't have an answer
for them
to that.
To protect her, but why are they protecting her? Wray and Sessions, unbelievable.
Sarah, you want to take a stab at that because I don't know the answer to it.
I don't think anyone knows the answer to it. What we do know, Sean, is that Attorney General Jeff Sessions is missing in action. We don't know what John Huber is doing because obviously we found out now that he's never interviewed Bruce Orr, who is a significant player in all of this. We have Rod Rosenstein, Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein, who's somehow in charge of this Special Counsel investigation, even though he is directly involved in this. He signed the fourth FISA warrant on Carter Page and should have known what was the problems and the compromises made there and the malfeasance. So basically, we have no one checking on the investigators. And
Sarah, you there? We'd lose you. All right, we'll go back to Tom Fitton. We'll give you the last word, Tom.
Well, the immediate steps that can be taken now, Sean, declassification. Declassify the rest of the FISA warrant. We have these OR documents that be declassified because right now the FBI and Justice Department are stonewalling the release of information, and the President can, I think, insert himself, require a more timely release, and declassify material that's not being classified for national security reasons.
But we know what we need. We need the 302s between Bruce Orr and Christopher Steele. We need the unredacted FISA memos, specific pages, I'm told, 10 through 12, 17 through 34. If we're going to be thorough, we would get all of the Gang of Eight material, as I understand, which would be available to everybody. A specific classified email chain from October 14th between the FBI and the DOJ, and every other request, and everybody else that's involved in this.
And there are other things that haven't been turned over to the public through FOIA as well. The Justice Department and the FBI have said that text messages generated by Andrew McCabe aren't covered by FOIA. They won't even look at them. So there's a lot of stuff here. I would appoint a transparency czar maybe to run to oversee Justice Department and FBI responses because it's like the fox guarding the hen house. They can't be trusted to provide documents in a timely way or at all on issues that as an agency or individually they have worries about because it would evidence corruption.
We got to let you go. Tom Fitton, thank you for being with us. Sarah Carter, thank you for being with us. 800-941-SEAN, toll-free telephone number. You want to be a part of the program. We'll get to your calls when we come back straight ahead.